We get the best of both worlds. The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming.
You're gonna be a bad mother.
Fun's over.
This guy's really good.
He's not a guy, he's a machine.
Robocop is without question the best action film of the 1980s. High praise considering the 80s were the golden era for action movies. After the original film's success came a mountain of cash-in bullshit, including a sequel, a shittier sequel, this stuff, a short-lived TV series, an even shorter-lived mini-series, dog-punching simulator, hallway shadow people, this cartoon, that cartoon, whatever the fuck this is.
Oh, let him fry the chicken.
Potato Face,
I'd buy that for $1.
and this, Robocop for the Xbox. Oh, fuck. Titus, for the uninitiated, are arguably the worst developer of the late 90s and early 2000s. They even puffed out their chest and made an impressive case for worst developer ever. Just look at that logo. He's laughing at you. Laughing because you just spent $50 on this.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
In all fairness, Robocop does boast some impressive features like 6 different weapons and 3 difficulty levels. Surprisingly missing from the list are boots up when you turn on the system and only freezes sometimes. The development team even had the time to shoot a series of exclusive behind-the-scenes videos, extolling the many virtues of the game, even going so far as to call Robocop one of the greatest games of all time. Seriously.
This is Robocop. Probably the greatest game ever.
So, this is Robocop. Try aiming at the first enemy you encounter. I'm not exaggerating here. Go ahead. Go ahead and aim at this guy. The controls are really this loose, especially while aiming. In fact, the only way to accurately line up a shot when zoomed in is to move Robocop, not the aiming reticle. You have to move your character. So instead of, I don't know, maybe fine-tuning the aiming mechanics, Robocop opted for a lock-on button, which can only be activated by aiming directly at your target and pressing the X button. This, of course, begs the question, why bother locking on in the first place? And really, there isn't a good reason. Once you're locked in, Robocop will automatically fire his weapon at the enemy without any regard for his surroundings until the enemy is dead or until you press the B button to deactivate your target lock. This will result in a lot of wasted ammo by firing into walls and, worst of all, accidentally killing the hostages littered throughout the level. If you're keeping score at home, that's 2 buttons mapped to a completely useless broken feature implemented as a band-aid for a completely broken game mechanic. We're off to a great start. Once you conquer the controls, you can start inching your way through the game, and I do mean inching. Robocop doesn't duck, he doesn't run, and he sure as shit doesn't jump. He just walks. Oh, and you can do this, but it's completely useless, so I wouldn't bother. Most of your level objectives will be fairly straightforward. Kill this many enemies, save that many hostages, maybe make a few arrests, and this is where Robocop tries to differentiate itself from your standard first-person shooter. You'll occasionally run into enemies who decide to throw down their weapons and surrender after taking a few bullets to the head, and then you'll be tasked with arresting them, which just consists of walking up and tapping the A button and then watching them vaporize into thin air. An interesting concept, sure, but of course it's Robocop on the Xbox, and nothing works the way it's supposed to. Accidentally kill a bad guy who surrendered? Fuck you, game over. Shoot a grenade as someone is giving up? Fuck you, game over. Accidentally pump a clip into a hostage because of the broken lock-on mechanic? Fuck you, game fucking over. And trust me, the last thing you want to see in Robocop is that game over screen. I'll get to that later. You may have noticed by now that Robocop isn't winning any beauty competitions anytime soon. The environments all stick to the same gray and brown industrial color palette, and there are some seriously ugly, unfinished textures that pop up way too frequently. What the fuck is this shit? Is that a shadow or a... Is this a table? Oh! So I'm stuck now. Okay. And wow, look at that explosion. They must be using the pocket tanks engine. The only thing glitchier than the environments are your ugly-ass, brain-dead enemies. Thank you, Robocop, for single-handedly lowering the bar for both aesthetic appeal and overall functionality of a character model.
Animating the characters for Robocop wasn't very hard.
Really? These motherfuckers are insane. They'll spin around, glitch through shit, shoot at nothing, or shoot at you from beyond the shitty environment draw distance. Yeah, Robocop is one of those games.
But surely Robocop has a fantastic story.
No, actually, Robocop, it doesn't really have a story at all. Well, maybe that isn't entirely true. It starts with a story. Kind of. From what I gather, there's a new drug hitting the streets of Neo-Detroit. Yeah, that's not old Detroit or even Delta City like in the movies. But anyway, the drug is called Brain Drain, not to be confused with Nuke like in Robocop 2. And the drug operation is being run by this guy Nex, who is actually a lot like Kane from Robocop 2. And come to think of it, Robocop really is the morality police in this game. He's like on a crusade against drunks and hobos while people around him are chucking grenades at his face.
Drugs bug me.
And there's this giant rat you fight, sort of like in that other Peter Weller movie. I think it was called Of Unknown Origin. So yeah, you're fighting this rat and...
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. A rat? A fucking rat? Did anyone even bother to watch Robocop? Did anyone fucking bother?
After that, who the hell knows what this is about? You take out Nex about halfway through the game, and then things just sort of keep going. Well, we do have this screen. Instead of presenting a competent story, you're tasked with piecing things together by reading through these case file things. Now, I know sometimes games use in-game reading material to provide additional insight into the game's world. Recently, both Dishonored and Skyrim have done this, but it's been done in a similar fashion for decades. What these games don't do, however, is use optional reading that the vast majority of gamers will ignore to drive the plot and explain key characters. I even took the time to read some of this shit, and I have no fucking clue what's going on after Nex is out of the picture. Not to be outdone by the rest of the game, level design is massively flawed and reeks of a cobbled-together cut-and-paste job full of unused space. The levels in Robocop are huge, and most of them will take you around an hour to get through, if you know exactly what you're doing. And you will know exactly what you're doing, because your only chance to beat Robocop is to memorize every level. And even then, you are going to die. A lot. Memorization doesn't take into account the chaos that is Robocop. Bullets may not hurt you much, but fire and explosions, those are one-hit instant deaths. Did I mention that your weapons can't penetrate walls, but enemy weapons can, so get ready to run away from doors as you open them to avoid getting blown up through a wall by a guy you never saw. Later in the game, guys with cloaking devices will start showing up, and worst of all, these dancing cyborg things, we'll call them the bane of your existence. They'll show up and cartwheel across the room, shoot blue goo in your face, insta-killing your ass before you can even pull the trigger. Not to mention all the boss encounters that'll take you out before you can figure out what the hell you're supposed to be doing. Guys that pop up behind you and start shooting from a room you just cleared, all while the game punishes the player for picking up health by springing enemies on you that are only triggered by health pickups. And worst of all, there are 0 checkpoints in this game. None. You want to know what's really fucked up? The hardest level in Robocop is the second level. And the first time I made it through to the end, after 3 grueling hours, the game froze, and I had to restart and do it all over again. Fuck! Eventually you reach the point where you're fighting through the catacombs of a giant Catholic church perched atop a mountain that looks like it's in the middle of Lake St. Clair. Huh. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these environments were actually ripped from another unfinished project just to artificially inflate the game's length. Nothing here makes sense. Bad as it may be, there is one thing that Robocop does worse than level design. Sound. Robocop's voice is awful, and it doesn't help that we're assaulted with his shitty one-liners every time you kill an enemy.
You know, I was going to do this joke where I was going to say that the voice acting was so amateur that it sounded like it was recorded by one guy who was clearly in way over his head.
Robocop was an interesting project because many of the voices were recorded in-house at Titus Studios.
Yeah, that isn't a joke. It's just a real thing. What the fuck was that?
Hey, caller!
The sound designer did quite a few voices himself. His job was to make the characters believable.
Man, am I glad to see you.
The sound mix is what really puts this over the top, though. I've never played a game where the designers couldn't even get the sound levels right. Most of the news broadcasts between levels were so quiet that I had to crank my television up all the way to make out what they were saying. And then this asshole who has to remind you every 2 seconds about the... Yes, there are civilians in my sector! I fucking got it, man!
You know, most bad games are just sort of sad and pathetic on some level. You know that something happened during the development process and things got derailed and you kind of feel bad for everyone involved. And then there's a special breed of bad games. Games that smugly strut around like they're actually worth giving a damn about. Games that think they're hot shit. Games like Robocop.
The greatest game ever. The greatest game ever. Ever.
To me come off, first me nearly dead with laugh. I watch the people rush the door like a batch of choco. Fun time there, time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Fun time there, a time for the bus ride. No!